on to Neo. Neo at this point is putting Nick Cannon to shame. Neo talks more about his personal life than his music these days.
Yes.
It seems like every time he's doing anything, talking publicly, doing any kind of media, whatever, there's more talk about his personal household than his music. And this will be a continuation of our coverage of this because we have talked about it now, I think once or twice, at least once, maybe twice, talking about Neo's little household setup here.
At least
With
number three. Man, he friend of the channel now.
yeah. Neo is officially a friend of the channel for sure. And so he is providing a little more context for what people call his polyamorous relationship. And so he's giving us a little more ammo. And so here we are revisiting this from this guy. And so this says Neo reiterates that his 4 girlfriends can't date other men. What I say goes. In in an interview with Angie Martinez, shouts out to Angie Martinez, singer-songwriter Neo spoke about his polyamorous relationship with his 4 girlfriends and doubled down on his stance that they're not allowed to date other men. I ain't selling no dreams, and I'm not forcing anybody to be here. If for whatever reason you decide this ain't for you no more, the door is never locked. You have permission to go about your business. I don't want anybody to think that I'm manipulating these women into doing something they don't want to do. Everyone that is here by choice. He said that the question he gets asked about his polyamory the most is whether they can date outside of the arrangement they're in. That's the question I get all the damn time, and I'm going to answer it right now. No, and I'm gonna tell you why. Here's the thing. When I got with these women, I did not ask for their exclusivity. I did not demand their exclusivity. They offered it. They came to me and said, I want to be exclusive to you and just you. I said, you understand that your exclusivity to me does not mean my exclusivity to you. You understand this? He said he made it clear to them all up front, and they said they were cool with it. Since you are offering your exclusivity and I'm taking it, now there are rules that I need you to follow. But at the same time, I don't do ownership. I'd be a fool to feel like I'm the only person that anybody will ever be attached to, anybody will ever want to see. I know that. So, should that situation ever come up, nothing is above a conversation. However, in that I'm the head of this household, what I say goes. So if I say no, it's a no. And if you just got to let that be a no, or the door is over there. He also stressed that there are no random hookups and he will always discuss everything with them. I've always felt like a woman will submit when you give her something worthy of submission. You cannot force a woman to submit. It has to be her choice. Asked if he thinks he'll be living the polyamorous lifestyle for the rest of his life or if this is a phase, he said he doesn't know. I'm going to rock this as long as I'm allowed to rock this, he said. So, I don't know if you'll recall, but when we last talked about this, I said I
Yeah,
pretty
man.
much
Yeah.
believe he is the only man in this situation. And I question the legitimacy of using the word polyamorous to describe what's going on here. So he has just clarified this. He is doing his best Keith Raniere, um, you know, I'm trying to think of other examples of this where he's the only man in the pyramid. He's running this thing. So, what do you think about these newfound statements about the way Neo runs his quote unquote polyamorous setup?
Yeah, man. I thought I was the psychic on the panel here, man. But you nailed that, bro. That's 8 ball corner pocket with that one. Um, I could have assumed that, but I didn't know because he was running around with the label polyamorous. I figured that, if the girls wanted to go do something else or even with another girl, I figured he would be okay with that. But apparently not. Um, Listen, man, I heard a lot of capery in that. Um, uh, it's hard enough because first of all, these ladies are for the streets. Okay, they're for the streets. We've already discussed. All right, they're BBL'd up. They're augmented up, and yes, that is an indicator she's for the streets. And so these are street women that he's having his turn with, and I'm pretty sure, that's why he says he's gonna rock this is for as long as he can rock out with it, because he's gonna keep taking these different women for a spin whenever they come around. But it's hard enough to track the movements of one streetwalker, and you got four of them on your team, and you think what type of woman run around offering exclusivity, especially for a man that's a well-known, you know, player. So I don't know how that conversation came about with all four of them, where they just off rip was just offering that. Now I'm pretty sure they, if the conversation came up where he pretty much, I don't want to say give him an ultimatum or nothing, but he pretty much gave him the rundown, and then from there they offered exclusivity. But I highly doubt they came in off rip saying, "Yeah, I want to be exclusive to you, even though I know you're smashing three other women right now." You know, so I don't know how that conversation would have went. So that's a part of it that's a little capperish. The other part is that, hey, the door is open for you guys, or for you guys to come in and out. And for me, I feel as though this is good, staying ahead of future litigations. Yeah, man, you gotta let everybody know that these aren't my minions. I don't have them locked away. This ain't nowhere. Close the doors. You know, you know, none of that weird stuff, man. These says are open. So there's no weird stuff going on. So that was smart, staying ahead of that. Because never you're dealing with four different personalities here, four different women that are for the streets. So you never know who's gonna flip and say that he was forcing me to be here. I never wanted to be down with it like that, but he, you know what I'm saying? So that I feel as though that's why he was doing all of that talking. But all in all, this does come across, as you mentioned it before in a previous video, typical, you know what I'm saying, Don Wong kind of man, in this situation where you're hollering polyamorous, but it's not polyamory because they can't really go do their own thing. So, I took Neo for a swinger. I figured that this was just a swinging lifestyle. He just had four mains. If they wanted to do something else, especially with another girl, because these girls look like they play with each other, I figured he wouldn't be opposed to that. But it sounds like he is, and this is his world. He found women that want to rock with whatever he does in his world. There will always be women that sign up for this, whether they're only exclusive for a year or a year and a half. He's still got a pretty good run, so he's not tripping off of it. So all in all, he's still getting what he wants. Can't be mad at that. I feel like there's different situations for everybody. And if these women are signing up for it, that means they're into it too. So, yeah, man. So I don't know if you want to call it polyamory, but it's definitely on the spectrum. But what are your thoughts, man, on Neo around here saying that all of his women's are exclusive to him and him alone, but he can still dabble out if he lets them know? What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'm looking at the AI generated definition of polyamorous again, just to make sure that I am not misreading anything here or misinterpreting it.
Mm.
And what I see here is polyamory is a relationship style where individuals mutually agree to have multiple romantic and or sexual relationships with the full knowledge and consent of all partners involved. Now, when I read that definition, what it says to me is all individuals involved in the polyamorous relationship agree to have multiple romantic and or sexual relationships, meaning that these women would also be able to have multiple romantic partnerships and or sexual relationships. Now, unless I'm misinterpreting that definition, if I put that if I take that definition and apply it to what he has going on, that doesn't really sound like polyamory to me. And I said it before. This seems more like he has a harem. It's not a freewheeling polyamorous setup. It seems more like Neo's harem. He's at the top of it. He's the only male involved, and he dictates how everything goes. Now, maybe some other maybe anybody here who catches our video out, if you happen to be involved in a polyamorous relationship and this does actually qualify as polyamorous, feel free to let us know in the comments. Set me straight. But I kind of feel like he's using polyamorous as a term when really what's going on is he's running his own private whorehouse. And he has four um, submissives, and he's the lone dominant, and he gets to run his, harem however he sees fit. And the only reason why he's capable of pulling this off is because, and he even said this himself, he can afford it. So all he's really doing is paying. He's paying for the ability to have a socially sanctioned, sexually lucid lifestyle, which is at the crux of what he wants. And it's at the crux of what most humans nowadays want.
Yeah.
Most humans nowadays want to live a sexually lucid lifestyle where they can have whoever they want, whenever they want, without having to deal with the moral constraint of being called or believing themselves to potentially be a liar or a cheater or a misleader. So people don't want to deal with the guilt of feeling like they cheated on somebody, of feeling like they lied to somebody, feeling like they were dishonest, feeling like they led somebody on. So how can we do these things, right? How can we socially sanction things in such a way that I can live this sexually loose lifestyle without having to deal with those particular forms of judgment? Well, we can just attach a particular phraseology to it, and we can say that we're living polyamorous. In the case of Neo, I believe Neo is running a harem where he is just doing whatever he wants and being able to have his cake and eat it too, while also restricting his women from being able to exercise the same liberties. And they are capitulating to it because he makes the money and because he can afford to make a situation in which they capitulate to it.
Yeah.
And this to me is fool's gold because it's not an achievable lifestyle by most of the population. It's only achievable by men in positions who can financially front it.
Correct.
Otherwise, it is a pursuit in futility to try to achieve such a thing because you're going to run into resistance. The only reason why those women have agreed to this is because they feel as though the price of sacrificing their exclusivity is worth the lifestyle that they get in return. If you aren't in position to provide the same sort of a deal, you're not going to be able to acquire the same kind of lifestyle. And I think that this does personally, I feel as though this does a disservice to the people who are actually living poly in the true sense of the word poly and what it's supposed to mean. This is just Neo running what he wants to run and having his girlfriends, but none of his women can do anything because they can do whatever they want. But I'm not forcing them, so I still look like the good guy at the end of the day because I'm not forcing them. There's the door and they can leave whenever they want. So I get it. It is what it is. This to me was just confirmation on what I suspected was going on beforehand. And again, I state, I don't think this has anything to do with finding a more practical, better way to develop and cultivate family dynamics. Not that he was saying that that was his point, but I think other people were trying to suggest that that's what's going on with this. This is all about sexual appetite.
Yes. Yeah.
This is all about sexual appetite. It's all about sexual variety. And for what is becoming an increasingly majority of the population
Yes.
that has been sold on the idea that they don't experience happiness unless they get to have that sexual variety
Yes.
and unless they get to be able to feast on that sexual appetite.
Yes.
This gives them sort of a moral compass with which to say more and more people are doing this, so therefore I should do it as well.
Yeah. That's what I really think it is. I think that this ties into the over sexualization of everybody. Um, but he's financially in a position to do so. Um, and other men that are financially able to do so Honestly, they're just too scared, and then they run and they cheat, and then there's irreconcilable differences, and then they gotta pay. So I think for people that are in the position, um, it's not like it's not like these guys' wives are there because they love them either. I mean, she is only one woman there for the money. But if you got your harem on deck, and the only reason why you have a harem is because you got money. Well, the only reason why you go anywhere and any of these women interested in you is because you got the money. So for the person that would eventually step out on a wife, um, or whoever, um, why not? Why not recreate it in a way where you're getting the W, at least perceivably? You know. So to me, it makes sense for people that is in his world. There's guys that are cheating now, and they're paying both women. He's buying this one gifts. He's taking this one to a restaurant. You're paying both of them, but you're paying this one a little bit more just to keep her quiet. So why lie? Now, of course, apparently they'll let me. He ain't got enough money for both of those women to openly deal with each other and openly let him do that, even though they know of each other, and it's a wild thing out here, but it's already going on. So yeah, my thing is that just bite the bullet and do it. Do it. Even though nobody wants to call him a pioneer or anything, but it makes sense, especially for people in his world. And as I always like to talk about, man, everybody out here already doing degrees of this. you know. So, being honest about it and being honest with yourself. And yeah, if this guy is a air quote sexual deviant, and some may say, or whatever, but if he's in that boat, at least he's doing it in a safe space. He's not out here. It's the same for women. And if they do like to mix it up, and the girls be in on it sometimes because that's what he's into, it's still in a safe environment. So to me, it makes sense. So yeah, not everybody can live like this, but if those people do want to live like that, get your money up, and don't be crying broke with no woes. You know what I'm saying? Get your money up so you can get more, and then be
Yeah,
honest with them, and then pay for it like you're evidently going to pay for it anyway.
yeah. You already y'all dudes already out there paying for women as it is. You might as well just do it in an official capacity.
The super lame way is paying online. Now
Well,
that's when you're losing out,
yo,
and
yeah, okay, yeah.
that's when you're just so moist as a human for you to be out there simping on women online. And so take that money and go, what I'm saying? Go invest in a woman in the street. We don't want to call it buying them, but invest in these women because they can be bought. Invest in these women in the street, man. And yeah, man, stop wasting your money on these online slores, and get you one in person like Neil. But yeah,
It is.
man. Hey, man, it is what it is, dog.
Yeah,
Eventually, at some point, man, people gonna have to come to grips with this transactional lifestyle, because they're all, oh, we live in a transactional relationship. Transactional relationship. This is boiling it down to the greatest common denominator and taking out all the middleman, all the fluff. If this is transactional, let me pay you. And so this is what he's doing. So hey, man, no, man, nobody wants to hear it like that, but that's what's going on. And so, yeah, he's got the money to do it. He's doing it like that, the transactional way. They're around for the money. Everybody knows it. And it is what it is. If you want to keep living like that, keep balling hard. And he'll keep, living a good life. It is what it is, man. I wish life was like how we were told coming up, man. But the older you get, man, you see it's a pretty wild circle going on, pretty vicious circle at that. So if you can just cut out all that noise with just being up front like how he doing, why not?
Well, I will say this about him. At least he is paying for women who are for sale. Uh, you got a lot of these guys out here who are attempting to buy women who aren't for sale, and that's when the trouble comes because you buy them, you attempt to buy them, and they tell you they're not for sale. Then you say, "Oh, okay, well then I won't try to buy you. I'll actually try to." Bring you into my world, even though your intentions are, I'm a dude who pays for stuff. So all the while you're continuing to seek to pay for stuff, and then she finds out, gets mad at you, and gets upset with you. God forbid y'all raise the family together. Now that whole situation is breaking apart because she feels like you lied to her because you didn't turn off that part of yourself that needs to be transactional whenever you feel the urge to be transactional. So at least he's doing it up front with women who themselves are for sale and know that their place in the world is to be for sale, as opposed to guys who are trying to pay for women whose place in the world is not to be for sale. And ironically, what ends up happening is those women get turned out because of how much trauma you put them through, that they then become one of the women who are for sale. So such is the circle of life.
Yeah, man. The
Yeah.
antelope eat the grass, baby. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I'll give him credit for that because I think that long before these women um, voluntarily entered into Neo's harem, they knew that they were the type who was okay being a part of the harem. If not already were a part of a harem previously before his. And so they have just joined a new one and left the old one behind. So, um, I will give him credit for his honesty in that regard, but I just rebuke the idea that this is polyamory. I rebuke the idea that this is about relationship building. I think this is all about Neo being able to bust as many nuts as possible with as many different women as possible. And what annoys me is when you get these dudes out here claiming that it's all about nation building, family, and community, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, nah, bro. All you really want to do is be out in the streets and have several options of women simultaneously. And very much like you, I believe that if that's how you want to be, just let it fly. Let it be known. Don't lie about it or make someone believe that that's not what you're about when you are, because
Correct.
that's what leads to the confusion.
Correct. Yeah, 100, man. So hey, let us know down in the comment section, y'all. You guys down with Neo's alternative lifestyle? Him saying that his women are exclusive to him and him alone, but he could still dabble with the other women and do it. He can do whatever he wants so long as he let them know. What are your thoughts,
Yeah,
man?
that is Neo's harem. That's what I call that. That is the harem produced by Neo.
Hey, man, get it
Yeah,
how you can, I guess.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I guess being married for as long as he was, feeling trapped, he gotta let it fly now.
Crazy.